Hello, you're listening to Talkin Music with Joshua Kirk. On this show, I speak with musicians about albums they've made, their careers, shows they've played, and a range of other topics. My guest is a singer-songwriter out of Maine making waves in the indie field, and that is Louisa Stancioff. Her debut album, When We Were Looking, is about to be released on April 12th, 2024 via Yep Rock Records. In this interview, I spoke with Louisa about her newest singles, her recent shows and opening slots, our favorite record stores, and the making of her new album. So without further ado, I hope you all enjoy my interview with Louisa Stancioff, my guest on Talkin' Music with Joshua Kirk. Nice to meet you. How are you
Nice.
doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Obviously, I know you are about to release your debut album, When We Were Looking, on April 12th. So, how does it feel to be releasing your first full body of work?
Oh, it feels really exciting. I've been waiting for a while. It's been recorded for a couple years now, and like it was all recorded and ready to go when I sent it to Yep Rock
Yeah.
a couple years ago. And so it's been a while. I've just been kind of sitting on it, and there was a lot they had to do to like prepare for this, and like they had
Yeah.
a lot of other releases beforehand to do. So I've just been waiting my turn, and I'm really psyched.
So on that topic, you signed with Yep Rock Records in the summer of 2023 and released two singles, Redneck Yacht Club and Cass's song. Would you mind telling me the story behind these two songs?
Yeah, well, yeah, so that was they signed me with the record, then they were like, we should have a couple other songs to release before the record comes out, just to like have it so you have an online presence, because I literally had nothing under my name.
Yeah.
And so they wanted me to have like something out, to have like a Spotify account at least, and like some stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, Redneck Yacht Club came first. That was I had actually started writing that in New Hampshire at my friend's bachelorette party, and I was on a lake. We were hanging out in a cabin on a lake, and there was this little island, like a sand island, out in the middle of the lake that had a tiny sign on it with something spray painted on it. We couldn't see it, and we paddled out, and it was written on it was spray painted Redneck Yacht Club, spelled YAUGHT. And I really identified with that. I grew up in Maine in a rural area surrounded by lakes and rivers, and we spent all of our time on rivers growing up, and lakes. And I would meet up with all my friends in random spots in on lakes and rivers, be like, let's meet up here, let's meet up here. Um, and they were all just spots to get away from adult supervision,
Yeah.
societal expectations, safe spaces to, go skinny dipping with your friends and just have a really fun, heart opening time. That was like where I came into myself really as a person, was
Oh, yeah.
on various bodies of water. And just seeing that sign, I was like, I can picture teenagers like texting each other in the middle of the night, being like, you want to meet up at the Redneck Yacht Club? And it really made so much sense to me. And it came to me pretty easily. Um, and it was like the hard part about it was I had so many words, and I was like, how do I fit all this in one sentence? It's like, you texted me, and I was like, so I had a really hard time like fixing, putting all the words together to create like this rhythmic. I wanted it to be like an upbeat rhythmic summary song, because I had been writing a lot of like sad
I, I
pan
mean, I mean, it made sense. The
songs.
song came out in July, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was had been writing a lot of like sad pandemic songs, and I was like, I want to write a fun freaking song that makes people excited. And yeah, so that one, I actually didn't finish that one until the winter time. I like was going through some voice memos when I actually had COVID. And I was like, "Whoa, this is fun. I can see what I was thinking, and I think I can accomplish that now." And I just like needed a lot of time to like figure it out, and it was wicked fun. And then the next one, Cass's song, I wrote that the next day after I finished Redneck Yacht Club. I was um had been, since I had COVID, I was reading old journals and just going through old stuff and thinking about my friend Cassidy, who had just visited a few months before. I hadn't seen her in years, and we had had such a fun time in college together. We were like a little bit romantic with each other. Sometimes we were mostly just friends, but it was always kind of that question. And so I was like, that's a good thing to write a song about. And I pared it down to just one specific experience we had together one time that I feel like really kind of embodied our whole friendship. And it was just this one time where we went to the river together, and um, we were I was pretty hungover. We were both hungover, and she got me up in the morning, early morning sunrise, and was like, Louisa, it's the first warm spring day. We have to go to the river. We have to jump in. Um, and so yeah, as you can tell, I like swimming and water, and you know, making myself uncomfortable to have a really good time. That's where all the best times come from. So we went into the woods near the river. I went to school in upstate New York, in Canton, New York.
Yeah.
And we stripped down, and we were like, oh my God, it's so cold. How are we gonna get it? It was freezing. It was like the ice had just melted. And so then we were just kind of hanging out there, and then a canoe or a couple of canoes went by. We were like, oh, and we were kind of like, oh, we have to cover ourselves. And then around the corner, like 25 to 30 canoes came, because there happened to be the annual Canton, New York canoe race that happened that day. So we were caught very nude on the side of the shore where we thought we had privacy. So we had to jump in, and then we had to stay in the water until they all passed by. And it was just this very funny moment that really kind of brought us even closer than we already were. It does pair well with Redneck Yacht Club. I had water on the mind. I had canoeing on the mind. I had, like, you know, young love, young connection on the mind. They go hand in hand, the two songs. They're pretty similar. They have a different feel to them, but they have like a lot of similar themes to them.
Oh yeah, I definitely noticed similarities both thematically and lyrically. I mean skinny dipping being the obvious thing,
Yeah.
like lyrically
There's even a
and
red canoe in both of them, though.
yes, oh yeah. Uh
Yeah.
that makes sense. And also kind of that kind of a quaint indie folk and rock sound to them. But I kind of want to dig a little deeper into like your music background, because heard that you grew up learning and singing Bulgarian music with the help of your grandfather's paternal grandfather's side of your family. So I'm kind of wondering how informed do you think you and your work are by Bulgarian music?
My older songs are much more informed by the Bulgarian music. I love harmonies that are very dissonant. I grew up singing that kind of stuff. My songs that I was writing, especially like when I was younger in my previous band called Diado, which is actually a Bulgarian name for grandfather. We did not sing Bulgarian music, but it was obvious that a lot of our songs like were very influenced by Bulgarian music. Only obvious to someone that understands the music thoroughly, because we were just singing folk rock songs, but really harmony based, harmony driven songs, and the unpredictable melodies that come with Bulgarian music. Like a lot of people with just a Western ear, that grew up just listening to, American folk music might be kind of um, turned off by it, or like confused by some of the melodies that come from the songs that are influenced by Bulgarian songs. But yeah, I think a lot of it's hard to pinpoint where influence comes from exactly, but there's definitely a large Bulgarian influence on my music.
I do hear some kind of interesting chord progressions in like songs I've heard from you so far, including one of them that you just released that we're gonna talk about a little later. That but digging a little deeper into like your music. Your bio says that your songs are emotionally charged and richly detailed character studies that grapple with the complexities with of loneliness and desire, freedom and regret, and guilt and forgiveness. Can you give me an example of some of these themes in your songs by any chance?
I think the whole album that is coming out so soon, When We Were Looking, that's basically, those are all the themes within the album.
Yeah.
Anthony D'Amato wrote that bio, and that he just wrote that from talking to me about the songs, which
Oh, yeah. I know he's in supergroup Fantastic Cat, and it's
yes. But yeah, I think my first single that I released with for When We Were Looking, it's called Gold.
yeah.
And I'd say that one kind of embodies all of those. I wrote that in a very transient time in my life. I just moved from Asheville, North Carolina, back to Maine, but just for like a very brief stint. I was working on at an apple orchard and staying at my grandfather's house up in the attic. And I was planning to move to LA, but it was like really uncertain. And I had also just been on a tour in Alaska with my previous band. So I was like all over the map, like literally all over the
Yeah.
United States. And my brain was still in like pieces of were still in each spot. And I was feeling not chaotic, but just pretty ungrounded, but in a good way. I was feeling just transient. And started writing Gold, but I found this voice memo and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful melody. It didn't have any lyrics. It was just like me mumbling and singing this melody, but it was so lonesome sounding too. That was like the saddest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with you, Louisa? But I also
Hmm.
really identified with that at the same time. I was feeling pretty lost, newly brokenhearted from my choice, but still like, it's sad. Yeah, this whole song is basically a snapshot of a relationship's end. And it's kind of the feeling of when something it'll never be the same again. Like something has deeply changed. Something has deeply shifted within you and the situation. And you're processing that in time.
I appreciate you kind of breaking down kind of the core of that. That to dive a little deeper into the new album, it was produced by Sam Casserer and recorded at Great North Sound Society in Parsonsfield, Maine. So I'm kind of wondering how that contact came about and affected
Sure.
the final product.
We were connected at a show in Boston and Cambridge at Club Passim, and I was opening up for Ellie Buckland. This is around the same time that I was writing Redneck Yacht Club when I was explaining that earlier. He was at a show and I was playing just solo. And I was like, if anyone wants to record these songs, I'm looking for help and would really love to get these recorded. I had nothing under my own name. It was just kind of like still just a dream to start my own project. I still was like very much just chilling in Maine, like working at some restaurants and stuff. It was like right after we'd all gotten vaccinated. And so I was like, yeah, I really want to record these songs and like start my own thing. Like, let me know. And I guess he was in the back and he literally raised his hand. He was like, and he was with his mom. And she was like, you gotta talk to her after. But he didn't. But then I messaged him on Instagram and he was psyched and we talked on the phone and he was like, yeah, let's do this. And so he had like some openings and we just recorded we had a plan to just record 2 songs, but it went well. So we ended up getting 3. And he was like, I would love to make this record. And I was like, sick. So that's how that happened.
But yeah, I'm glad you two could uh get together and work. We've already kind of talked about the first single from the album, Gold, which was released on January 16th. That yeah, I'm kind of a little curious about how that music video came together. Huh.
Oh yeah. My cousin Matt, Matt Guy, I used to have a band with him. That was the band Diado. And we started that when probably like it was like not 8 or 9 years ago. and we were touring around and stuff. We wrote a lot of songs together. We recorded an album together. We recorded some singles together. We know how to work together really well, and we get along really well. So it was sad to end the band, and it was definitely needed. I think we both needed to go our separate ways and like do what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But it was definitely sad. But it's really cool that he has been living in LA and now is really into film and video. And so when I recorded my album, my solo album, and I sent it to him, he was like, I want to make a music video for Gold. And he like already had this wild plan. He just like, he's kind of a creative genius, and he came up with this wild plan involving aliens and running around Echo Park in LA. And that just this whole shedding of skin, coming into yourself in a new way metaphor. He wanted it to be flashy and fun and cute and sad and happy at the same time. And he sent me the treatment like even before I signed with the label, before he even knew I was talking to them. And then we just were able to record that recently when I visited LA in December, and we did that whole video in a day, and we recorded another one at the same time actually, and that's coming out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool video that actually fits with the song well, because like I mean, because even though it's like a sad song, it's also kind of a yeah, yeah. I mean having a little head trip. That's kind of part of that whole experience, essentially. And I think that is a good transition into my next question, which is about the second single that you put out from the album, Nobody's Watching, which came out on February 13th. So can you tell me a little bit about the inspiration for this song?
Yeah, that song I actually wrote around the same time I wrote Gold. And I was just up in my grandfather's attic, messing around with guitar, kind of learning how to play it really. Like I didn't play it super well at the time, and I was kind of messing around with key changes and stuff. And
Oh, clearly, because
yeah.
yeah, because you're in the song. I mean, I was talking about the the interesting chord progressions in your songs. Yeah, that this is exactly the song I was referring to there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like a time when I was really feeling like I was like, I don't want to write a folk song. I want to
Mm.
write something interesting. Like, and I was back home in Maine and had been singing Bulgarian music with my family. Like we had gotten back together for a family gathering, and my aunt Unshi, she started a Balkan choir in Maine actually, and she just knows unlimited amounts of Balkan music. It's so cool. And
Yeah.
my sister also, I think right around that time, had joined a Balkan choir in New Orleans, and they're super good. They're called Trendafilka. So it was really particularly fun to be singing Bulgarian music, and there's just so many cool key changes and vibrant textures throughout the whole, like every song, and it's all based around harmonies and uh total vocals. Like there's no instruments in the kind of Bulgarian music I'm thinking of. I thought it was just kind of a wash. Like I was like, this is so weird. I'm just gonna like, and I sent it to Matt though, my cousin Matt, and he was like, this is so cool. Like, whoa, this is not a Diato song though. This is a Louisa song. And I was like, okay.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I definitely could feel that because I actually, in preparation for this, I like listened to like these four songs like for a few days straight
oh,
before doing this to kind of do this, and yeah, there was definitely an interesting feel to that song that I didn't quite notice as much in the other songs. So on the topic of really getting yourself out there, you've played a handful of shows supporting different artists, including Indigo de Souza, The Dead Tongues, Darling Side, and Pokey Lafarge. So I'm kind of curious what it was like playing with these different artists.
I loved touring with the Dead. I love touring with all of these bands. I didn't tour with Indigo. I actually just opened up a little show. We're friends, and she's an Asheville person, and
Oh yeah,
I
cool.
opened up a very small little house show for her last year, and that was like probably my first like Louisa show that I played.
Mm.
Or it was a couple years ago, I guess. It was like it was like right after we'd all gotten vaccinated, kind of. And yeah, that was really fun. But that's where I met the Dead Tongues too. And he played a set as well, and I sang some harmony with him. So I was like, I listen to your music, dude. Like I can sing some harmony with you. And he was like, and so he asked me to open up a tour for him this last spring. And I just played solo, and it was really fun. I just drove around in my little blue Ford Focus, following his big van around, and we played some awesome shows. One of my favorites was in Brooklyn at Public Records. It was like a totally packed show. It was like really good vibes. He brings out like a really nice crowd, and I feel like I made a lot of connections there with a new scene. And yeah, I feel like I was able to remember how to play solo at those shows because I've been playing with my band in Maine for a while at that time. And so it was like really cool to just be like, oh yeah, I can hold my own. This is really nice. And then with Darling Side, that was a wicked fun couple tours, especially this past one in the fall. We toured across the whole country, and they're just the chillest, sweetest group of people. And I felt so lucky to be opening up that tour with my full band. My sister was there too. She was singing harmonies with us, and we played some amazing venues. My favorite was probably in LA at Lodge Room. It was like a beautiful room, wooden floors, large ballroom style spot with a really nice crowd, like people right up close to us standing and singing along with some of my songs, which was really cool. And yeah, it was super cool. And then this last tour with Pokey Lafarge was was pretty amazing. Like I didn't really understand what kind of following he had. Like I didn't know how famous he was. He'd actually just like lives around here, and he saw us play on the street one time this past summer, and he was like, and I ran into him in a wine shop um like in August, and he was like, "Whoa, you're the musician. Like your band is so cool. Do you want to come open up my tour for me in December?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great." And so we did, and they were like completely sold out shows, like pretty big rooms. People are obsessed with him, and like he's a really awesome dude. His band is amazing.
Oh
His
yeah.
wife Patty, is a friend of mine now, and like and he's a friend as well now. Been really lucky to open up for these bands that are like quite a few steps above from where I am, but are also
Yeah.
still like so down to earth and um really fun to hang out with. Like they're all just friends now, which is great. I know that like a lot of people don't get to have that experience when they're at my level. And that was all just luck. Like it was just like people reach like the Dead Tongues was just a friend. Darling Side just found it on Instagram and reached out, and we played a few shows with them, and they were like, "Do you want to open up this cross country month-long tour?" And I was like, "Yes." And then Pokey Lafarge just saw us playing on the street. So all really good experiences. And then this most recent tour was playing with Eliza Edens and Molly Pardon. And
Yeah.
that connection happened because Molly was playing in Darling Side. Molly was the bass player in Darling Side for the past couple years, and she also has her own project that's amazing, and I had already known about her. And Eliza Edens is like we have a lot of mutual friends, and we've known each other for a few years now, and we all have the same booking agent. I started working with their booking agent because of the Darling Side tour, and so yeah, we were hooked up with each other because of the booking agent. He booked us all these shows together, and we decided to learn all each other's songs, which was a huge feat, and create a super band instead of just opening up like one after the other, like singer-songwriter. We were like, that sounds boring. Like we've done that a million times. Like everyone's heard that a million times. Like let's create a super group instead and learn
Yeah.
all of each other's lyrics and all of each other's guitar parts and bass parts. It was kind of a lot and pretty stressful, but like so worth it. It was one of the more fun tours I've been on, and I feel like we had no idea what the turnouts would be. Like we're all like this, like Molly has a following online, like on Spotify. She has millions of listeners, but like
Wow.
sometimes that doesn't translate over to real life, especially since she has not toured in the Northeast very much at all. But like me and Eliza both like, we have a draw in some spots. It's mostly just friends still. And her music is amazing. And she deserves to have so much more of a following. But yeah, we just had no idea, and it was actually so good. Like most rooms were mostly full or sold out, and like just wicked fun. And so we're gonna set up another tour soon together.
Well, speaking of tour, I want to dive into yeah, another kind of fun topic, which is record stores, because you put a reel on your Instagram January highlighting great record stores you visited. So you visited all these record stores, and I'm kind of wondering what you love so much about visiting a city's local record shop.
Oh, I think it's just so cool to see what's going on in a record shop, to see what people value, and like in Maine we don't really have that many good record shops. Like we have Bull Moose, which is cool, but other than that, I don't know of like any spots like Ka-Chunk, for example. So sweet. And it's like when you're on tour, there's like it's pretty repetitive and you're just going from one spot to another, especially in the winter, it's wicked cold. Like in the summertime, you're gonna find like a spot to swim or like something to do outside. But this was a really cold week in um December or a cold couple weeks in December. So we would just be like, cool, what are we gonna do? Like we don't want to stay at like this person's house that we don't know that well for too long. Like we should go visit a record store. And I got the idea to like make um a a reel beforehand before we even left for tour. I was like, I'm gonna visit a record store in every single
Yeah.
town as much as I can anyway. And the label helped with that. They sent me all the good ones to visit in each city. And so I was able to prepare for that beforehand. And like I put it into like our tour like sheet, like our spreadsheet to be like, it's gonna like this spot is like 15 minutes from here and like or like this is gonna add like a little bit of time. But they were super the band was super psyched about it. They're like, yeah, let's go to a record store in each spot. It's like way better than like, just not having any plan at all. It's like good to have a little something to do before the show. Like just hanging out at the venue can be a little boring and like kind of get your nerves like worked up a little too much.
Oh
So it's
yeah, like I
good to
yeah,
like
I think it's totally fair for sure.
it's good to
But
keep moving and to like have a plan for all the morale. And everyone was psyched about it. Like we all really grew our record collection and tape collection. And it was cool to talk to the owners too and just see what the vibe was like. Be like, would you guys be down to carry my record? And like some people would be like, oh yeah, for sure. Like, and then other people would be like, I have to like ask the manager. Like, I don't really know what the deal is with that. Like, just to see like kind of what the organization of the whole place was like. Like some places were super casual about it, and some places were like a little more like, I don't know, like I'm just someone that works here. But most places were just like really welcoming and really psyched. They're like, oh, you work with Yep Rock? Like that'd be so sick. Yeah, let's have your record in here.
yeah, I was really excited to see you visited Kachunk and also Government Center in Pittsburgh. Me and my parents went to Pittsburgh last summer, and we actually went to that place for the first time, like that past summer. Yeah, it was cool, and I also thought it was really dope that you got actually the album that's right behind me at Kachunk,
Yeah.
Anti-Socialites, from the Canadian indie pop band Always, which that's actually kind of what my next question is about, because because from what I'm seeing like online, you clearly have a bit of a soft spot for Canadian indie band Always, and that you bought the album, and then I also found video of you on Instagram covering the song "Not My Baby," which is from that album. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering how you like got into that band, and how has their music impacted you?
An old friend introduced me to them probably like 4 or 5 years ago, or older or longer ago than that. I just remember hearing their music for the first time, the Archie song, and being like, oh my God, that is so cool. It just sounded really different. I feel like now there's more music that sounds like that. But there's just something about that like nostalgic retro but new feel to their
Yeah.
music that is like just wicked cool. But yeah, they're just so cool. I love Always. I think they're super talented. I would love to see them live sometime.
So to kind of wrap things up and go back to your music, I know you have the album coming April 12th, that talk about any like collaboration you got or like the shows you've got lined up uh down the road.
I have an album release show in Portland, on in Portland, Maine, obviously, on April 13th, the day after the album comes out, and it's gonna be like supported by this band called Matriarch, and they're a band in Portland. I've never met them, but I started
Yeah.
listening to their music. I'm like, what? These guys live in Maine? This is so sick. So I'm really excited about that. And we're probably gonna get another opener on there too, just to have a full 3-band bill, make it a party. But yeah, and then I have a few other album release shows that I haven't announced yet. One of them is gonna be in Midcoast, Maine, where I live, in Rockland, at a little art gallery. I think it's gonna be a really sweet, intimate night. I'm hoping for the album release shows, like, I would love it to be like a really fun, vibrant vibe. And I also want it to be like this really intimate listening experience. The album that I'm releasing is pretty mellow. Like, I recorded it a few years ago. I was in a different headspace. It was post-pandemic times. Like, all the songs I wrote like kind of during a transitional period. And so like they're pretty mellow vibe songs. And I love how the record turned out. And I really want to perform it pretty similarly to that. So I'm just going to perform for the album release shows just from start to finish, with a band. And and that's it. I'll talk in between each song and kind of explain where I came from, like kind of explain where the song came from. But yeah, it's just gonna be like just the songs from the album, and I think it's gonna be a really magical night. There's gonna be a show in Boston as well, and New York City, and possibly one in Burlington.
Yeah, that's really sick, and I'm yeah, I mean anytime, yeah, you'll have to let me know when you're kind of coming to the like DC, Maryland, Virginia area, because it would be cool to see you. But yeah, I really enjoyed being able to just like nerd out with you and like do this interview. Clearly there's a bond kind of going on between the two of us, like us lately. And yeah.
I'm glad this worked out. It's really
Oh
fun.
yeah, like would you mind letting our listeners know where we can find you on your social media?
For my Instagram, it's Lou_we_za. So Louisa.
Oh yeah, that's a funny little Instagram handle there. Like
I've just had it like that for years, and when I started my own thing, I was like, I'm just gonna keep it this way.
yeah,
On Spotify, it's just Louisa Stancioff, which I'm sure will be somewhere on this YouTube video. You can read it. And yeah, I'm on TikTok too. I don't post on there that often, but trying to figure out how that
yeah.
that platform works. Really
Anyway,
cool.
Louisa, yeah, it was great to talk to you, and I hope to see you again down the road. Yeah, I hope we can meet in person sometime. Yeah, that'd be really awesome. And yeah, great to see you, and
Thank
have
you,
a good
Josh.
one.
Thanks so much. Yeah, you too. Have
Bye.
a good bye bye.
If you want to learn more about Louisa, check out the music she's released so far and pre-save or pre-order her new album dropping April 12th. Just check out the link to her website below in the description. Also be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a nice comment. If you have any suggestions for how I could make future improvements for the show, I'd be glad to hear them. You can also find me at my Facebook and Instagram links down below. Talkin' Music is edited by Louisa Phillips. Thank you to Louisa Stancioff for participating, and to you for listening. Have a good day, everyone.